The notification sound from Jenna's phone cuts through our bedroom at 3:15 in the morning. Again. She rolls over, grabs it with the practiced motion of someone who's been doing this for months, and I watch her face glow blue in the darkness as she types back to whoever can't wait until sunrise to talk to my wife. "Work emergency," she whispers, like I'm supposed to believe that her marketing job at the local tourism board has life or destruction situations at this hour. I don't respond. Haven't responded to her lies in weeks now. Instead, I lie there in the dark, listening to her thumbs tap against the screen, and I think about how stupid she must believe I am. Ed Samson, the boring insurance adjuster who processes claims all day and comes home to microwave dinners and Netflix. The guy who never questions where she goes for her early morning gym sessions or why she suddenly needs professional photos for her fitness journey. The typing stops. She sets the phone down, face down on her nightstand, and pretends to go back to sleep. But I can feel the energy radiating off her, the barely contained excitement of someone living a double life. When her breathing finally evens out an hour later, I slip out of bed and pad to the kitchen. Our apartment sits on the top floor of a converted Victorian house, and the old wooden floors creak if you don't know exactly where to step. After 12 years here, I know every safe spot. I make coffee in the dark and open my laptop. Jenna's Instagram account loads up, and there it is, posted just 20 minutes ago. A photo of her at the gym, sweaty and glowing, posed next to some muscle-bound guy with perfect teeth and a spray tan. The caption reads, "Sometimes you have to break someone's heart to find your own happiness. Luke Petrov." That's the name on his profile. 28 years old, calls himself a life transformation coach and wellness entrepreneur. His bio promises to help people unlock their authentic selves and break free from limiting relationships. I scroll through his photos, shirtless mirror selfies, motivational quotes over sunset backgrounds, and pictures of him with different women at various gyms around town. All of them look at him the same way Jenna does in her recent posts, like he's some kind of salvation instead of what he obviously is. The coffee tastes bitter, but I drink it anyway. Outside, it's starting to rain, the kind of steady downpour that turns the streets into rivers and makes everyone want to stay inside. Perfect weather for what I need to do. I open a new browser tab and log into our rental portal. The lease is in both our names, but the primary contact information is mine. Has been since we moved in. I update my forwarding address to a P.O. box I opened last week, then submit a request to remove my name from the lease effective immediately. The system processes it instantly. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Next, I call the utility companies. Electric, gas, water, internet. All in my name, all getting transferred to my new place starting Monday. The customer service representatives are helpful at this hour, probably grateful for something to do during the graveyard shift. By sunrise, I've systematically extracted myself from every shared obligation we have. Bank accounts, insurance policies, even our gym membership. Jenna will wake up to a world where Ed Samson has quietly evaporated from all the boring, practical details that keep a life running. But I'm not done yet. I walk to the bookshelf in our living room and pull out Jenna's favorite novel, an old mystery she's read at least 5 times. I slip a folded piece of paper between pages 50 and 51, right where the detective realizes his partner has been lying to him all along. The note is simple. You'll need a clue. Then I pack. Not everything, that would tip her off too early. Just the essentials, the things that matter. My clothes, my books, the photo albums from before we got married. I leave behind the furniture we bought together, the kitchen gadgets she picked out, all the accumulated debris of a relationship that died so gradually I didn't notice until it started stinking. The rain keeps falling as I load my car. Mrs. Lindholm from the apartment below peers through her curtains, but doesn't come outside. She's seen enough drama in this building to know when to mind her own business. I take one last look at our bedroom window. Jenna's still sleeping, probably dreaming about her new life with Luke the life coach. She has no idea that her old life is about to get very expensive. The drive to my new place takes 15 minutes. It's a small apartment above Pete's garage. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Pete Kowalski has been my friend since high school and my coworker at Hartwell Insurance for the past 8 years. When I told him I needed a place to stay for a while, he didn't ask questions, just handed me the key and said the first month's rent was on the house. I spend the morning unpacking and setting up my new life. It feels strange being alone in a space that doesn't echo with someone else's presence, but strange in a good way. Like taking off shoes that have been too tight for years. Around noon, my phone rings. The caller ID shows our landlord's number. Ed, this is Frank Bruckner. We need to talk about your lease situation. What about it? Well, you removed your name, but your wife, she can't cover the full rent on her own. Her application shows she doesn't make enough to qualify for the apartment solo. We're going to need you back on the lease or she'll have to find a co-signer. I take a sip of coffee and watch the rain streak down my new kitchen window. That sounds like her problem, Frank. But Ed, you've been good tenants. Surely you can work something out with Jenna. I'm sure she'll figure it out. She's very resourceful. There's a pause. Okay, well, I'll have to give her notice then. 30 days to find a co-signer or vacate. Like I said, Frank, her problem. I hang up and allow myself a small smile. The first domino has fallen. 3 weeks later, Barb Martinez slides a cup of coffee across my desk and settles into the chair across from me with the satisfied look of someone who's been digging through other people's business and struck gold. Your boy Luke is quite the entrepreneur, she says, opening a manila folder thick with printed pages. Barb runs the office at Hartwell Insurance with the efficiency of a drill sergeant and the investigative instincts of a seasoned detective. When I mentioned I was curious about someone's background, she took it as a personal challenge. At 62, she's processed more insurance fraud cases than anyone in the state, and she has a network of contacts that would make the FBI jealous. Tell me, I say, leaning back in my chair. Luke Petrov, 28. Originally from Portland. No formal certification in personal training, nutrition, or any kind of fitness instruction. What he does have is a very interesting pattern of relationships with women who suddenly start paying his bills. She slides a printout across the desk. Bank records, obtained through what she calls professional curiosity, but what I suspect involves her cousin, who works at the credit union. He's been living off different women for the past 3 years. Sets up shop at a gym, targets married women who are unhappy, plays the role of life coach / therapist / boy toy, then moves in and starts draining their accounts. When they get suspicious or run out of money, he moves on to the next one. How many? That I can prove? 7, including your wife. The coffee suddenly tastes better. What else? He's got a side business selling supplements that are basically protein powder marked up 300%. Tells women they need his special metabolic enhancement formula to see results. Pure scam, but legal enough that nobody's prosecuted him for it. Pete walks over from his desk, carrying his own folder. And I found out where he's been staying when he's not at your old place. Pete's contribution to my intelligence gathering has been more direct. He's been following Luke around town, documenting his schedule and habits with the dedication of a private investigator. He's got another woman on the hook. Marcy Chen works with Jenna at the tourism board. Divorced, lonely, just bought a house she can barely afford. Luke's been spending Tuesday and Thursday nights there, telling her the same story he told your wife about finding her authentic self. Marcy Chen, I repeat. Jenna's coworker. Best friend according to their social media. They post pictures together constantly, always commenting on each other's stuff. Real tight. Barb chuckles. Not as tight as they think. I had coffee with Marcy's neighbor yesterday. Apparently Marcy's been very excited about her new trainer and hasn't been shy about sharing details, including the fact that he told her he was single. The pieces clicked together in my head like tumblers in a lock. Luke isn't just scamming Jenna. He's playing her against her best friend, probably planning to extract as much as he can from both of them before moving on to his next hunting ground. "There's more," Pete says. "Remember Tara Walsh, the realtor who's always hanging around with Jenna?" I nod. Tara's been Jenna's sidekick since college, one of those women who lives vicariously through other people's drama because her own life is too boring to sustain her. She's been talking. A lot. Apparently, Jenna's been borrowing money from her to help with rent and bills. Told Tara that you cut off her access to your accounts out of spite. Which is technically true, I admit. Right, but here's the interesting part. Jenna also told Tara that she's planning to move in with Luke permanently as soon as she can get out of the lease. Problem is, Luke's been telling Marcy the same thing. Barb slides another document across the desk. And according to my sources at the gym, he's been making the same promises to at least 2 other women. Man's got more future living arrangements than a college student. I study the papers, absorbing the scope of Luke's operation. It's actually impressive, in a sociopathic way. He's created a network of women who all think they're special, all think they're the one he's going to build a new life with, and none of them are talking to each other about the details. "So what's the plan?" Pete asks. I look out the window at Main Street. It's lunchtime, and people are walking between the shops and restaurants, going about their normal lives, unaware that they're about to become unwilling participants in Luke Petrov's downfall. "We're going to help them communicate better," I say. That evening, I drive to the Foxhole, the bar where Jenna and her friends have been spending their Friday nights since she started her fitness journey. It's one of those places that tries too hard to be trendy but ends up feeling like a chain restaurant with delusions of grandeur. Perfect for people who want to feel sophisticated without actually being interesting. I take a seat at the far end of the bar, order a beer, and wait. Sure enough, at 8:30, Jenna walks in with Tara and 2 other women I recognize from her social media posts. They claim a high-top table near the window and immediately start taking selfies. I can't hear their conversation from across the room, but I can read their body language. Jenna's animated, gesturing with her hands, clearly telling a story that has the others leaning in with interest. Tara keeps glancing around the room like she's hoping to be overheard. The other 2 are hanging on every word. After about an hour, Tara gets up to use the bathroom. She has to walk past my section of the bar, and as she does, I turn slightly so she can see my face. "Ed?" She stops, looking genuinely surprised. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Just grabbing a drink after work," I say. "How are things?" "Good, good. You know, keeping busy." She glances back toward their table, where Jenna is pointedly not looking in our direction. "That's great. I hope everything works out with Jenna's new situation." "Oh, you know about Luke?" "Hard to miss. She's been pretty public about it on social media." Tara nods, and I can see her processing this information. She's always been a gossip, someone who collects information and trades it for social currency. I'm counting on that. "It's been quite a change for her," Tara says carefully. "I'm sure. Moving in with someone new, helping with his business expenses, all that. It's a big commitment." Her eyes sharpen. "Business expenses?" "The supplements, the training certifications, the equipment. Jenna mentioned she was helping him get his operation off the ground. Very generous of her. This is a lie, of course. But it's the kind of lie that will eat at Tara until she has to verify it." "Right," she says slowly. "Well, I should get back." "Good seeing you, Tara." She walks away, and I can practically see the gears turning in her head. By the time she sits back down, she's already formulating questions that Jenna won't want to answer. I finish my beer and head home, satisfied with the evening's work. The second domino is wobbling. The eviction notice arrives on a Tuesday morning, delivered by certified mail to ensure Jenna has to sign for it personally. I know this because Mrs. Lindholm texts me a photo of Jenna standing in the hallway, still in her bathrobe, staring at the envelope like it contains a bomb. 30 days, the text message reads. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Mrs. Lindholm has become an unexpected ally in this process. After 40 years of living in the same building, she's developed strong opinions about tenants who don't pay their bills on time. When I explained my situation, she was more than happy to keep me informed about developments. I'm at my desk at Hartwell Insurance processing a claim for a kitchen fire when my phone buzzes with another update. Muscle boys showed up. They're arguing in the parking lot. I set down my pen and walked to the window. Our office is only 3 blocks from my old apartment building, and I can just make out 2 figures gesticulating at each other next to a red pickup truck. Pete, I call over to my colleague's desk. Want to take a ride? We drive slowly past the apartment complex, and I get my first good look at Luke Petrov in person. He's exactly what I expected. Tall, artificially tan, wearing a tank top that shows off his gym-sculpted arms. He's pointing at the eviction notice in Jenna's hand and shaking his head emphatically. Even with the windows up, I can hear him saying, "This isn't my problem," over and over. Jenna's face is red, whether from anger or embarrassment, I can't tell. Probably both. She keeps waving the paper at him, and he keeps backing away from her toward his truck. "Trouble in paradise," Pete observes. "Looks like it." We park across the street and watch the drama unfold. After 10 more minutes of argument, Luke gets in his truck and drives away, leaving Jenna standing alone in the parking lot, still holding the eviction notice. She looks up at the apartment building, then down at the paper, then back up at the windows. For a moment, I think she might break down crying right there on the asphalt. Instead, she straightens her shoulders, marches back inside, and slams the door hard enough that we can hear it from across the street. "Phase 2? Pete asks. "Phase 2. That afternoon, I drive to the gym where Luke conducts his training sessions. It's one of those modern fitness centers with floor-to-ceiling windows, gleaming equipment, and a juice bar that charges $15 for a protein shake. The kind of place where people go to be seen, working out as much as to actually exercise. I pay for a day pass and spend an hour on the treadmill, observing Luke's operation. He moves between 3 different women during my time there, spending about 20 minutes with each one. His approach is consistent, lots of physical contact disguised as form correction, intense eye contact during rest periods, and constant validation about their progress and potential. The women eat it up. They hang on his every word, laugh at his jokes, and compete for his attention when he's working with someone else. It's like watching a nature documentary about predator-prey relationships, except the prey are paying for the privilege. After my workout, I approach the front desk where a young woman with purple hair is scrolling through her phone. "Excuse me," I say. "I was thinking about hiring one of your trainers. The guy over there in the blue shirt, Luke something?" She looks up. "Luke Petrov? Oh, he's not actually employed here. He just rents space for his private clients." "Really? Is he certified?" "I honestly don't know. You'd have to ask him directly." I thank her and head to the locker room, where I accidentally run into one of Luke's clients, a woman in her 40s who was hanging on his every word during their session. "Great workout," I say, making conversation while we both change clothes. "Thanks. I'm finally seeing real progress with my trainer." "That's Luke, right? I was thinking about working with him. How long have you been training together?" "About 2 months. He's amazing. Really understands the whole person, not just the physical stuff. He's helped me realize that my marriage was holding me back from my fitness goals." "That's comprehensive, right?" He says most trainers just focus on the exercises, but real transformation requires looking at all the limiting factors in your life. He's actually helped me see that my husband has been sabotaging my progress. I nod sympathetically. That must be difficult to realize. It was, but Luke's been so supportive. He's even helping me figure out my finances so I can afford to make some big changes in my life. The conversation continues for another 5 minutes, and by the end, I have a clear picture of Luke's psychological manipulation techniques. He identifies women who are unhappy, convinces them that their relationships are the source of their problems, then positions himself as the solution to both their fitness and emotional needs. It's textbook predatory behavior, wrapped in the language of wellness and self-improvement. Over the next week, I begin implementing what I call the Transparency Initiative. It starts small. An anonymous comment on one of Jenna's Instagram posts. "Doesn't your trainer work with Marcy Chen too?" Small world. Then a casual mention to Barb, who happens to be friends with the receptionist at Marcy's dentist office, who mentions in passing that Marcy's been talking about her new boyfriend who's a personal trainer. I create a fake social media account and start following all of Luke's clients, liking their posts, commenting positively on their fitness journeys. Within a few days, the algorithm starts showing them each other's content, and they begin to notice the common thread. The breakthrough comes when Tara, fueled by curiosity and a few glasses of wine, decides to do some investigating of her own. She shows up at the gym during one of Luke's sessions with Marcy and introduces herself as Jenna's friend. According to Mrs. Lindholm, who heard it from her hairdresser, who heard it from Tara's neighbor, the conversation that followed was spectacular. Marcy, it turns out, had no idea that Luke was living with Jenna. She thought he was single and had been planning to introduce him to her friends at her upcoming housewarming party. Tara, being Tara, couldn't resist sharing this information with everyone in her contact list. By Thursday, the gossip network has done its work. Luke's carefully constructed web of lies is unraveling faster than he can repair it. I'm having lunch at the deli across from the gym when I see him emerge from the building, moving quickly toward his truck. 3 women are following him, and none of them look happy. One of them, I recognize her as the woman I spoke with in the locker room, is waving what looks like a receipt in his face. Another is recording the whole thing on her phone. Luke jumps into his truck and drives away, leaving the women standing in the parking lot, comparing notes and getting angrier by the minute. That evening, the first negative review appears on his business page. Scammer. Sells fake supplements and lies about everything. Do not trust this man with your money or your heart. By Friday morning, there are 12 more reviews, each one more damning than the last. The dominoes are falling faster now, and I can barely keep up with the cascade of consequences. Jenna calls me on a Saturday morning, 3 days before her eviction deadline. I let it go to voicemail, then listen to the message while drinking coffee on Pete's back porch. "Ed, we need to talk. I know you're angry, but this is ridiculous. I can't afford this place on my own, and you know it. Just call me back so we can figure something out like adults." Her voice has the strained quality of someone who's been crying, but there's still an undertone of entitlement, like my cooperation is something she deserves rather than something she needs to earn. I delete the message and pour myself another cup of coffee. An hour later, she calls again. This time, I answer. "Hello, Jenna." "Ed, thank God. Look, I know things have been complicated between us, but we can work this out. I just need you to co-sign the lease for a few more months until I can get my finances sorted." "That's not going to happen." "Come on, be reasonable. You can't just leave me homeless out of spite." "I'm not leaving you homeless. You're leaving yourself homeless by making choices you can't afford." There's a pause, and I can hear her breathing heavily on the other end. "This is about Luke, isn't it? You're punishing me for finding someone who actually appreciates me." "This is about rent, Jenna. You don't make enough money to qualify for that apartment on your own. The landlord explained this to you." "Luke can help with the rent." "Can he? Because from what I hear, Luke's having some business difficulties lately." Another pause, longer this time. "What do you mean?" "Check his reviews online, or ask Marcy how her training sessions are going." I hang up before she can respond. Pete comes out onto the porch carrying a plate of scrambled eggs and bacon. That sounded productive. She still doesn't get it. She thinks this is about jealousy instead of consequences. Maybe it's time to help her understand the difference. Pete's right. Jenna has spent our entire relationship insulated from the practical realities of life. I handled the bills, the insurance, the taxes, all the boring adult responsibilities that kept our world functioning. She got to focus on the fun stuff, her job, her friends, her social media presence. Now she's about to learn what happens when the infrastructure of your life disappears and you're left to manage everything yourself. That afternoon, I drive to the apartment complex one last time. Not to see Jenna, but to retrieve something I left behind, a box of old financial documents stored in the basement storage unit. I'm loading the box into my car when Luke's red pickup truck pulls into the parking lot. He parks next to me and gets out, clearly intending to have a conversation. "You must be Ed," he says, extending his hand like we're meeting at a business conference. I don't take it. "And you must be leaving." "Look, man, I know this situation is awkward, but we're all adults here. Jenna's really stressed about this housing thing, and I think you could help resolve it." "I think you could resolve it by paying her rent." His smile falters slightly. "It's not that simple. My business is going through a transition period right now." "I heard something about fake supplements and multiple girlfriends." Now the smile disappears entirely. "I don't know what lies people have been spreading, but—" "Not lies, Luke. Reviews. From your actual clients. Who paid you actual money for actual services you didn't actually provide?" He takes a step closer, and I can see him calculating whether intimidation might work better than charm. He's got 6 inches and probably 40 pounds on me, all of it muscle. "You need to back off," he says, lowering his voice to what he probably thinks is a menacing tone. "Or what? Or you might find out that I don't appreciate people interfering in my business." I pull out my phone and open the voice recorder app, making sure he can see what I'm doing. "Please continue. I'm sure your remaining clients would love to hear about your approach to conflict resolution." He stares at the phone, then at me, then back at the phone. The calculation happening behind his eyes is almost visible. Is this worth the risk of creating more evidence against himself? Apparently not. He backs away, gets in his truck, and drives off without another word. But I know he'll be back. Men like Luke don't give up easily, especially when their entire lifestyle is threatened. I'm proven right 2 days later when Pete calls me at work, laughing so hard he can barely speak. "You need to get down to the gym right now," he says, "and bring a camera." I find Pete in the parking lot across the street, pointing at Luke's truck. The vehicle is surrounded by a group of women, and they're not there for a workout consultation. Someone has covered the truck in flyers, printed copies of Luke's fake business credentials, screenshots of his dating profiles where he claims to be single, and reviews from his former clients detailing his supplement scam. Luke is trying to peel the papers off while simultaneously arguing with at least 5 different women, all of whom seem to be talking at once. "The blonde one is Marcy," Pete explains. "The brunette in the yoga pants is another one of his clients. I don't know who the others are, but they all look pretty upset." As we watch, one of the women produces a bag of what looks like flour and dumps it through the open driver's side window of Luke's truck. Another woman squirts what appears to be honey on the windshield. Luke tries to get in the truck to drive away, but the flour has coated the interior, and the honey on the windshield makes it impossible to see. He's effectively trapped in a cloud of flour dust and fury. "Should we call the police?" Pete asks. "And report what? A group of dissatisfied customers expressing their feelings through interpretive art?" The confrontation continues for another 10 minutes before Luke finally abandons his truck and starts walking down the street, covered in flour and trailing a group of angry women who are still shouting questions about their money. "I almost feel sorry for him," Pete says. "Almost?" "Yeah, almost. Then I remember what he did to those women and the feeling passes." We watch Luke disappear around the corner, probably heading for a bus station or anywhere else he can figure out how to get transportation. His truck sits in the gym parking lot like a monument to poor life choices, covered in evidence of his crimes and coated in baking ingredients. Think he'll be back? Pete asks. Not if he's smart. But then again, if he was smart, he wouldn't have been running this scam in the first place. That evening, Mrs. Lindholm texts me a photo of moving trucks outside the apartment building. Jenna's finally accepting reality and packing up her life. The caption reads, "She's been crying all day. Luke never came back to help." I study the photo for a long moment, looking for some trace of sympathy or regret in my emotional response. I find neither. Jenna made her choices. Now she gets to live with the consequences, just like everyone else. The lake house belongs to Tara's family, a rustic cabin about 30 miles outside town that gets rented out to tourists during the summer months. According to Barb's intelligence network, Jenna and Luke have been planning to use it for a wellness retreat, their last desperate attempt to salvage something from the wreckage of Luke's business. The plan, as far as I can piece it together, involves charging people $200 each for a weekend of holistic fitness coaching and relationship detox seminars. They've been promoting it through social media and word of mouth, targeting the same demographic Luke has been scamming for months. What they don't know is that most of their potential clients have been comparing notes. I'm sitting in my car at the end of the long gravel driveway, watching cars arrive for the retreat when Pete taps on my passenger window. "They're all here," he says, sliding into the seat beside me. 12 women, all of whom have given Luke money at some point, and most of whom are pretty upset about it. Any sign of Luke? His truck's not here, but Jenna's car is parked behind the cabin. Maybe he found other transportation. We wait another 20 minutes before the first car starts back down the driveway. Then another, then 3 more in quick succession. "That was fast," Pete observes. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "You need to see this." The message includes a link to a live video stream. I click it and find myself watching a shaky phone camera pointed at the interior of the lake house. Jenna is standing in the middle of what looks like a rustic living room, facing a semicircle of folding chairs occupied by very unhappy women. She's holding a clipboard and trying to maintain a professional demeanor, but her voice is shaking. "Luke is running a little late," she's saying, "but we can get started with the introductory session on identifying toxic relationship patterns." "Where's our money?" someone off-camera shouts. "I'm sorry?" "The supplements we paid for, the personal training sessions, the nutrition plans. Where are they?" Jenna glances toward what must be the door, clearly hoping Luke will materialize and handle this confrontation. "Those are separate services," she says. This retreat focuses on scamming more money out of us," another voice interrupts. The camera swings around the room, showing me faces I recognize from the gym, from Luke's social media posts, from the confrontation in the parking lot. These women have spent months being manipulated and exploited, and they've finally figured out they're not alone. "I think there's been some confusion," Jenna says, her professional facade starting to crack. "Luke's business practices are separate from what we're doing here today." "Luke's business practices?" The woman holding the camera laughs bitterly. "Lady, you've been living with him. You've been helping him spend our money. Don't pretend you don't know what's been going on." "That's not true. I'm a victim here too. He lied to me, just like he lied to all of you." "Really? So you didn't know he was telling Marcy Chen the same things he was telling you? You didn't know he was promising to move in with half the women in this room?" The camera focuses on Jenna's face, and I can see the exact moment she realizes her situation is hopeless. Her eyes dart around the room, looking for an escape route, but she's surrounded by people who want answers she doesn't have. "I want my $400 back," someone says. "And my $600, another voice adds. "He owes me almost $1,000. and you were there when I wrote the check. The numbers keep coming, and I do the math in my head. Luke has extracted at least $8,000 from this group alone, probably more from women who aren't here today. I don't have your money, Jenna says, and for the first time she sounds completely honest. Luke handled all the financial stuff. I thought we were building something together. You thought you were building something with our money, the woman with the camera says, and now he's gone, and you're here trying to get more. The stream continues for another 10 minutes, but the outcome is inevitable. The women leave one by one, some demanding refunds, others just wanting to vent their anger at the only target available. Finally, it's just Jenna alone in the cabin, sitting in one of the folding chairs, staring at the floor. The stream ends. Pete and I sit in silence for a moment, processing what we've just witnessed. That was brutal, he says. That was justice. Same thing? I consider this. Sometimes. We drive back to town as the sun sets behind us, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. The lake house disappears in the rearview mirror, along with Jenna's last attempt to avoid the consequences of her choices. My phone rings as we reach the outskirts of town. The caller ID shows Jenna's number, but I let it go to voicemail. Later that evening, I listen to the message. Ed, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need help. Luke's gone, just disappeared with all the money from the retreat and probably everything else he could grab. I'm stranded at the lake house with no way to pay for anything. I know I messed up, but I don't know what to do. Please call me back. Her voice breaks on the last few words, and I can hear genuine desperation replacing the entitlement that's colored our conversations for months. I delete the message. The next morning, I get a final text from Mrs. Lindholm. Moving truck came back. She's officially out. Left the keys on my doorstep with a note apologizing for the drama. I stare at the screen for a moment, not really sure how to feel. Relief? Vindication? Maybe a little of both. But more than anything, I feel a strange emptiness. The chapter that had been dragging on for so long was finally over, and the pages are now blank. On my way to work, I drive past the apartment building one last time. The windows of our old apartment are dark, as if they've been vacant for years, not just days. There's already a "for rent" sign in the yard. I don't stop. I don't need to. Jenna's car isn't there. Not that I expected it to be. The finality of it all settles in. It's really over. At the office, Barb slides a folded newspaper across my desk with a satisfied smile. The local paper runs a small story about a wellness retreat that ended in chaos when the organizer disappeared with participants' money. Luke Petrov, described as a local fitness instructor, could not be reached for comment, the article reads. Police are investigating complaints of fraud related to his business practices. Think they'll catch him? Barb asks, raising an eyebrow, obviously pleased with how everything has turned out. Probably not, I reply, shrugging. Guys like Luke are good at disappearing when things get complicated. They always find a way to vanish when the heat's on. And Jenna? Barb presses, her eyes narrowing slightly, her curiosity getting the best of her. I lean back in my chair and look out the window at Main Street. People are going about their normal lives, walking with their heads down in a rush, living their routines. They have no idea that a small drama, one that had dragged on for months, has just come to an end. Jenna gets to figure out how to be an adult, I say, my voice quiet but firm. For the first time in her life. Barb nods, but there's something in her eyes that tells me she doesn't quite believe me. Maybe she doesn't think Jenna is capable of it. But I do. I think this is the turning point for her, even if she doesn't realize it yet. Pete walks over, holding a steaming cup of coffee in one hand and a satisfied expression on his face. He looks like someone who's just finished a good book and is eager to share the ending. So what now? He asks, settling into the chair across from me, his curiosity piqued. Now I process insurance claims and live in a quiet apartment where nobody lies to me about gym emergencies at 3 in the morning. Pete chuckles. Sounds boring. Sounds perfect, I reply with a smile. There's no shame in the simplicity of peace. After everything, boring feels like a blessing. I turn back to my desk and open the next file in my inbox. It's about a kitchen fire caused by someone leaving cooking oil unattended while distracted by their phone. It's such a simple, preventable mistake. One of those things that people never seem to learn, the kind of thing you expect to read about, but never think it will happen to you. Some people never learn to pay attention to what's actually important, but that's their problem, not mine. I hear the rain begin to tap gently against the windows, the same steady downpour that had fallen the night I packed up my old life and drove away from it. The sound is soothing now, like nature's way of washing the slate clean, offering a fresh start, just as it had for me. It's almost as if the storm is erasing the remnants of all the lies, the heartache, the mess. It's just water, but it feels like something more, something symbolic. I turn my focus back to the paperwork, one claim at a time. I have work to do, bills to pay, and a life to live. A simple life, one that I'm in control of, free from drama and complications, and most importantly, free from people who think happiness is something you can steal from someone else. Jenna wanted to break someone's heart to find her own happiness. Turns out she was right about the first part, but the second part? She'll have to figure that out on her own.